Hey there, thank you so much for listening to our Big Time Talker podcast. We're live at the American Library Association's annual conference and exhibition at the San Diego Convention Center inside the podcast recording booth. Burke Allen here, and our sponsor is SpeakerMatch.com, the world's largest online virtual speakers bureau. If you're a platform speaker like our next guest, Tony, or maybe you're a meeting planner and you need a great speaker, you can find one another at SpeakerMatch.com. Thanks to Speaker Match for sponsoring the show. Thanks too to our friends at Headline Books and also Zoom Into Books for bringing us out to San Diego to talk to fascinating authors. If you're in the book world, there are thousands of authors and agents and publishers, librarians, readers, all here at the Convention Center. One of those authors is a multi-award winner, and Tony and I had the opportunity to meet in Miami last year. He's a fascinating guy with a really interesting story and interesting books as well that are award winners. He's got a Literary Titan Book Award, Reader's Favorite 5-Star Awards. Tony J. Selimi, and that's S-E-L-I-M-I. Let's talk about the unfakeable code. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to see you again.
It's great to see you. If folks come up to you and they say, what is this unfakeable code? What do you tell them?
Well, far too many people in the world live behind the masks. We go and meet people, we go into a meeting, we go for a professional career interview.
Right.
Or in our partners. We tend to develop many different personas within ourselves. So therefore our true authentic self never shows up. That goes into when we see people, the way they dress, the way they walk, the way they speak, the kind of relationship they have with people. So they never feel that they can be themselves with one person. So we tend to be different people to different people, and eventually it becomes very tiring. Not just that, but also it impacts our psychology, and it actually has a detrimental effect on our well-being. So the book is all about how to manage those transient personas that we develop through a lifetime. Sometimes when we finish school, we identify ourselves as students,
right?
And we go to professional work. We say we might be a nurse, we might be a doctor, we might be a podcaster, or anything like that. But as the life grows, we go through different stages in our lives, and it's really helping people understand those different self-protective mechanisms that prevents us from truly being authentic.
One of the things I was fascinated by when we met in Miami and we talked, there are a lot of personal development folks out there. There are lots of motivational speakers. And listen, you've got accolades from folks like Brian Tracy on the cover of this book who really know that business. You, though, Tony, have the unique perspective of having come from a very tough place and achieving some success. So when you talk about things like the unfakeable code, or you talk about your book, A Path to Excellence, you can really put your money where your mouth is. So if our listeners don't know who you are, maybe they didn't hear you, you're a repeat guest on my podcast, didn't hear the first show, if it's not too painful, let's talk a little bit about your background and your past.
Absolutely. I was born in North Macedonia in a little town called Gostivar. And back then it was a communist country, and you can imagine the kind of challenges parents would have, but also in a society where you are never good enough. So just because of the kind of creed you come from and the kind of nationality you are being put in a position that you are nobody.
Out of the chute.
Out of the chute, okay? So you are a blank slate into this world, and somebody determines whether you have a worth in this society. And from a very young age, because my parents practiced spirituality, I developed this curiosity about not only religions but also science, and how do I really transform that kind of mentality where on one hand we say we're all children of God, no matter what belief system you come from, but on the other hand we see so much injustice and inequality in society at every layer of society. So I became very curious how to demystify life and God's creation, and how I can assist people in that journey. But then, I was hit with abuse. I was challenged, bullied at school quite a lot. Then the civil war fell upon us, and I was only 18 and taken from school back straight to the civil war in former Yugoslavia. And I saw the atrocities that people are capable of making, and the kind of horror that we even see today, by the way. And we see it in so many different countries around the world where innocent children are victims of war of adults' choices and decisions and bad leadership. So then I fell homeless on the streets of London.
How old?
I was 19. So I spent my 20th birthday homeless without knowing whether I'm going to see my family again, having to cope with the grief, with the trauma, with PTSD and everything that happened in the Civil War. And yet with all of that, there was this voice within me holding on to hope, holding on to that mission of that I knew from a young age that what can I do for humanity, not just for myself, but for every parent out there, for every business, institution, education, and how can we transform and live better as children of God? If we're going to say that God exists, then how do we collaborate and how do we honor truly existence and life?
Was that the lowest point in your life?
There are many, by the way. That's just one of them. You know, being in the war, being in the trenches with not knowing that I'm going to live in any seconds. It's you are playing with death and life in every second.
And you were a kid in the war.
Yes,
literally.
I was 18. Yes, I was 18, and as I said, I was taken from first year in university with all my dreams shattered, the entire country, the entire identity. We didn't have phones, we didn't have technology like people have today, so you can be informed. So on one hand, you suffer losing all of that. On the other hand, I can only imagine the horror my parents and my family had to go through. And I was the youngest of 6, so my parents had my brother and 4 other sisters, and all of us being spread in different countries. So, we were really going through this change that it's impossible to put in words, the horror behind that, and the kind of impact it has on your psychology.
So, Tony J. Selimi is our guest today. The book is The Unfakeable Code. So when you're in the middle of all that, and you're a relatively young guy, 20 years old, sleeping on the streets of London, you've been abused, you've been in a war zone, literally in a war zone. For most people, they may give up at that point. What is it you think about your circumstance that helped you to tie a knot on the end of that rope and just hang on for dear life and pull yourself up?
Partly to do the kind of environment and kind of parenting I had, because my parents came from a Second World War. My grandfather fought in the First World War and the Second World War against the Nazis. So basically that spirit of actually fighting for justice and freedom was in me since I was a kid.
Ingrained.
And also I was very curious about how on earth we as human beings come to those situations where we suffer so much loss, and how is it that we can inflict that kind of pain to one another, and what is it we call it the devilish side of humanity,
right.
And then we call it the angelic side of humanity. How can we really manage those dark sides so we can emerge as better leaders, better human beings? Because exactly that, trauma, any form of trauma, any form of pain can switch people from really truly acknowledging the greatness within thyself and the kind of intelligence God given to us, all of us, no matter where you come from, no matter what religion you belong, no matter what nationality you belong, no matter what creed in the world you are. We are a product of the same intelligence that runs through all of us. And how do I really help people to bring that material and spiritual intelligence in a way that they emerge stronger and they can overcome all of those barriers that we built as a result of protecting ourselves?
Today, you travel around the world, not just the US, but around the world, helping people overcome these kinds of challenges. And there are big challenges in the world now. I wonder, as somebody who's been through what you've been through, when you see the Ukraine-Russia war, when you see what's happening between Israel and the Palestinians and Hamas, do you feel that there's something that you can contribute there to help people? And maybe folks are listening right now in those areas. This podcast goes all over the world. What do you tell them?
I am firm believer in what education and transformation can do to people, to individuals, to leaders, to businesses, to owners. And I'm also a firm believer that there's always a collaborative spirit when it comes to conflict. And I'm also a firm believer in changing human behavior and understanding our own pains and being able to come to terms with our own loss, to be able to actually understand other people's pains. So in those war conflict zones, the first key thing is about those leaders to actually look in thyself and look at the mirror of thyself, whether they actually are in alignment with what they preach. Because most people would use certain events to create war and kill other innocent people.
Right.
But if we go back to no matter what religion we are children of the same creation. And if we believe in God, we also believe in the creation of God, which is all that we see and experience. So if you become humble to that, you can find a peaceful resolution to conflict.
Tony J. Selimi is our guest today, and you can visit him online and pick up his new book, The Unfakeable Code. And in that book, you can learn how to handle judgments and rejections, manage negative self-talk, which is a real problem. Stop being a people pleaser, which is interesting. That's something that many people want to do. You say that's not necessarily a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, people pleaser, especially actually when it comes to men. You know, we have been in a way pre-programmed to be a people pleaser. From a very young age, we have been pre-programmed on how to live our lives. And therefore, unconsciously, when we become adults and when we take professional careers or businesses and stuff like that, we end up being people pleasers. Unfortunately, that can work negatively towards us, which means we are becoming out of alignment with why we're here, what we're here to do. So being able to overcome that, it actually brings you back closer to your true, authentic self.
It's an interesting concept. Being a people pleaser, not necessarily a good thing, according to Tony. He also teaches you in the book how to use your emotions intelligently, infuse your life with freedom, and lots more. And selfishly, I have to tell you, Tony, one of the things I love about your books is they're not long and they're easy to read. So you can read a short chapter before bed at night and internalize those messages. So I love that about your books.
Thank you. I mean, you hit the nail in that. Why? Because, you know, when we go to bed and we read a book and we read something that is actually elevates our mind, it's incredible what through dreams and how the mind can work through whatever you are processing throughout the day.
You internalize it, you know,
Yes.
and why not internalize something positive?
Something positive in your head, absolutely.
Hey, can I ask you about, at the time we have remaining, the book that I really love that you were kind enough to give me when we met in Miami last year, A Path to Excellence. And this is sort of this blueprint to help people achieve what you say is the greatness within each of us.
Absolutely. So the idea behind The Path to Excellence is after my first book, Path to Wisdom, which became international bestseller, sold over 1 million copies of the book. But after COVID, I saw far too many people end up living average life.
Right.
And being disempowered with what happened during COVID, after COVID. And therefore, from all the different things that happens to us, we tend to really create this bubble that really doesn't allow us to shine our true light, our gifts, and go out there and do something no matter what the reality projects at you. Meaning you taking ownership, what kind of reality you want to create for yourself, no matter the external environment. So how do we step on that path to excellence? Whether it's personal excellence or leadership excellence. So in the book, I sit down and I put together a unique 8-step methodologies that takes people through various transitional cycles of life, which we all experience. And how do you overcome those challenges through those cycles? For instance, if you pick up one of the cycles, let's say focus. A lot of people have lost their focus nowadays. So you have so much information being thrown at you, so many different choices that you don't know how to focus. And this is a big thing when it comes to people in their professional careers. So, you know, they come home and they totally burn out.
Right.
You know, burnout and stress and all of it, especially in the UK right now, the medical profession is totally burnout. So I'm not sure how that is in US, but from the people I meet, even here, we have the same problems in the health industry.
Sure, of course.
And then when we talk about, let's say another one, regeneration. So through every cycle of life, so no matter what we're going through, there'll be some form of regeneration within ourselves. So when we take those difficulties in our life, and if we spend time to learn the lessons from that, there is a regeneration happening in us. But not just that, but also you can become more youthful and you can prolong your life by transforming those trapped emotions in your body and making sure you diffuse those emotions. And then, you know, we are infinite beings, so therefore we have infinite cycles of life. So every year will be a different human being. Even the cells in our body regenerate. Why not our thoughts? Why not our emotions? Why not our awareness? Why not our professional lives? Why not the way we are with our partners, the way we are with our friends at work, and as leaders around the world?
A Path to Excellence is the book that got me hooked into the Tony world. And the reason that I like this book, Tony, I have to tell you, is it's different. There's so many books out there about self-mastery. This has a twist. You bring something different to it, and I love that about that book. Thanks for coming in and talking with me about it.
It's always a pleasure, and thank you to all the readers and all the people here at the conference and my global readers around the world and reviewers and all of that.
We've got just 60 seconds left to talk about this next book you have coming out. Give us a little sneak peek.
Snake Name, it's called Climb Greater Heights. Now, we are designed to keep evolving. And most people don't have the path how to go from being unknown to being globally known.
Right.
And how to really take your work, your wisdom into something that becomes of service to humanity. That happens to too many people who want to transition from 9 to 5 into entrepreneurship and businesses, but also people who are in business. What is the step process that can elevate their business, grow their profits, grow their productivity, engagement, but also create a product ecosystem which is sustainable and also help the business grow, because business without money cannot pay employees.
Right.
But then we bring purpose on top of that. How do we do all of those transformations that businesses needs to go, or entrepreneurs that go from transitioning from 9 to 5 into building a business with philanthropy and purpose at the core of it? And how do we align our psychology, the values and the beliefs in alignment with the kind of evolving vision that businesses can have and the impact they can have globally?
So we've got self-help, self-mastery. This next book will really focus in on business folks. Good luck with it. When does it come out, you know?
Late autumn.
Of this year?
Of this year, yes.
All right, great. Your website is?
TonySelimi.com, TonySelimi.com.
And remember, if you look up Tony's books online, remember to include his middle initial, which is J.
Absolutely.
For Just Fabulous.
Actually, it says Yaton in Albanian language, which means live your life.
Does it really?
Yes, and Tony in Latin means priceless, and Selimi in Arabic means peace.
Your parents did a good job with this.
Yes.
They thought it through.
And grandparents.
That's right. Tony, thanks for being here.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you to all of us and all the people who are listening to us.
That's it for our Big Time Talker podcast. Repeat offender. I'm teasing. Repeat, yes. Tony Selimi is our guest. Pick up A Path to Excellence, or the latest book is called The Unfakeable Code. The Unfakeable Code. He is a ball of energy. If you happen to see him live somewhere, be sure to take him in as well. All right, we're out of time. Thank you to SpeakerMatch.com. Headline Books, thank you for having us here in San Diego at the American Library Association's annual conference and exhibition. Thanks to our show producer, Greg, as well. On the other side of the glass, we appreciate you. And thank you most of all for listening. Now go out and make it a great day. Bye, everybody.